All right, this week I am talking about our natural energy cycles throughout sleeping and during the day. So, we're going to be going over how to create healthier sleep patterns at night, also how to start the day off correctly energetically, and then also understanding our natural energy patterns throughout the day and how to respect those and move into it so that we can get the most out of our energy cycles. So, just to start out, I wanted to let you guys know I grew up one of 9 kids, the sixth of 9. Life was chaotic, and from an early age, I learned that the only quiet times of the day were at night. And so I became an insomniac from really, really early on. I would stay up late reading or just wandering around the house because it was quiet and peaceful. And it wasn't until I was about 30 I could go 1 to 2 nights easy without sleeping. And I considered it a point of pride that I didn't need sleep. But what I hadn't noticed was I had developed really, really bad depression. I had developed like a terrible memory. I literally couldn't remember anything. My brain was always overstressed. I had very little emotional intelligence, very little ability to not react in the moment. Also, I developed a binge eating habit that was happening at nighttime. And so we talk about these, they call them keystone habits. For me, the keystone habit of when my health started to turn around is when I started looking at creating healthier sleep in my life. So let's run into this. Are you getting enough rest? Are you using your energy correctly? Some signs that you may not be are, first of all, depression is 5 times higher in people who are not getting healthy sleep. Also, higher blood pressure is really common in people not sleeping, which can lead to heart disease. Poorer workplace performance. Are you struggling to come up with creative ideas? Are you struggling to stay focused during meetings? Weight gain is very synonymous with people who are not sleeping, as well as impacting learning and memory, increased inflammation, shorter lifespan. Common symptoms of ADHD can manifest when you're overtired, as far as a whole slew of mental and emotional issues. So, let's talk about some bright line rules for this first area of creating healthy energy, which is sleep. So, some boundaries that you may consider putting into place when it comes to this sleeping time of day are first, 8 hours before when you want to go to bed, cut out your coffee. There are some of you who are going to say, oh, I can have it right up until sleep. Are you really getting healthy sleep? And why are you drinking coffee that soon before bedtime? There might be something off with your sleep patterns if you find yourself needing or drinking coffee that late at night. Experiment with cutting it out 8 hours before. Caffeine in general, try to cut out 5 hours before sleep. And then 4 hours before your bedtime, cut out exercise. You don't want to be doing anything too physically stimulating right before bedtime. I find exercise in the morning works really, really well. Life isn't ideal, so do what you can, but that's a really good boundary you can create. And then 3 hours before bedtime, make sure you're not having any heavy meals. I had a huge meal the other night at 9:30 with my whole family, and the next morning we all woke up and we're like, "Oh, we all got the worst night's sleep." And we just planned poorly and ended up at a late meal. But try to have those meals no more, well, about 3 hours or more earlier before bedtime. And the meals with more carbs, save for breakfast and lunch. Don't carb load at your dinner meal. Then any work and serious conversations, bed down about 2 hours before your bedtime. You don't want to be caught up in emotional stuff that close to bedtime, and set your work aside. Now, 1 hour before bedtime is your digital sunset. So this means TVs are off, blue lights are off, phones are off, gaming is off. We have a little sensor right here in our head that senses those blue lights. And when we can turn them all off, it will start creating melatonin, which will start increasing our sleepiness. And so I love to leave my phone downstairs. When it's time for bed, I put my phone physically out of my reach. I plug it in somewhere else. I walk away and I start my bedtime routine. And then when it's bedtime, you hop in your bed and it's light out. So let's talk about this hour before bedtime, though. This is a really important hour. So remember, we've turned off the screens. And then some other things that you can do to start creating an environment of sleep are lower the temperature in your house. And what the studies have shown is 68 degrees or lower is really going to be the best temperature to signal to your body that it's bedtime. And your body will start, again, creating that melatonin. Another thing that I love as a hack is anytime you raise your temperature and then lower it, that also starts to create melatonin. And so sometimes you can't create that 68-degree temperature for whatever reason, but if you hop in the bath and then get out and your body cools, it will create melatonin. This is also where a hot cup of tea or a hot cup of milk, again, it'll raise your temperature and lower it and make you feel sleepy. So I love a good sleepy time tea. Clean up your bedroom clutter. The space where you're sleeping, try to have it as non-stimulating as possible. My bedroom is super basic and boring. There's not much going on in there. And before bed, I just try to pick up the floors and keep the nightstands clear. That will really help your mental stimulation decrease as well. Turn your screens off, take all your medications you need about an hour before bed so they have time to really start working. And then no extra water intake. That hour before bed is not when you want to go finish your gallon a day water goal. Try to have your water finished before then so you're not up all night running to the bathroom. And then do your cleansing ritual, whether it's brushing your face, brushing your teeth, do your bedtime ritual. There's been a few nights when I've just collapsed into bed and I forgot to brush my teeth. Maybe some of you guys have done this. And then I was up all night with this horrible taste in my mouth. Literally just the taste was keeping me awake. So these are some things we can start working on for this bedtime ritual. So with this twilight hour, you're going to want to come up with a ritual that works for you. But in general, the more consistent you can be with your ritual and the time you go to bed, the more effective it's going to be. Your body loves repetition. It loves these habits. And so you might want to even break it down into something really specific. 1 hour before bed, what happens? Drop the thermostat, turn off the screens. 30 minutes before bed, what happens? Maybe I'm starting to journal or I'm getting that hot cup of tea. 15 minutes before bed, I'm washing my face, I'm tidying up the bedroom. Then I'm in my bed. What do I want to do there? Maybe I'm writing some gratefuls, or maybe you're saying a quick prayer. Then your head is on the pillow, lights out. Now, when you're in your bed, some really important things to create an environment of sleep so that you can actually stay asleep. No lights in the bedroom. Even when you're sleeping with your eyes closed, your body does have sensors that can detect light. So if you have an alarm clock that shines a bright light, try to put the face away from it. I like to use my cell phone as my alarm clock. I have it plugged in and out of reach, but it doesn't have a bright light and I can't see it. Also, if you're someone who is looking at the clock all night to see what time it is, it can create more stress because you're like, oh my gosh, it's 1 and I'm still not sleeping. So not having a visible clock in your room will help you have better sleep. Keep socks on. If you're someone who has poor body flow or you're noticing your sleep isn't going well, wearing socks increases your circulation and can also help you keep better sleep. Blackout blinds on your windows. You don't want any street lights. You don't want anything like that. And then having some sort of white noise, because those extra little noises and distractions, it might not wake you up, but it might disturb your sleep cycles. So I love to have ocean sounds playing. I've done that ever since I've had babies. Every night I just tell my device to play ocean sounds and she does it like a champ. Have your bed organized. So before you get in bed, spread out the blanket, fluff the pillows. Do you guys know what it's like when you get in bed and the blanket's all tangly and your pillows aren't where you want them? So have your bed tidy before you get in them. Have your phone out of reach. And I invest in very good mattress, pillows, and blanket. It is not worth it to have a bed that is not comfortable. I personally really like the Sleep Number bed. It keeps my spine perfectly aligned. I have a fancy blanket I paid for that doesn't get too hot or too cold. It's called a far infrared blanket. It's really good for temperature sensing. And then I have a Tempur-Pedic pillow that is perfectly aligned for my spine. Everyone's different, but this is a great thing to invest in. So if you're dealing with poor bed gear, just upgrade a little bit. I promise it will be worth it. And then the other thing too is use some aromatherapy. There have been studies showing that scents like jasmine, chamomile, lavender, rose, sandalwood, put a little spritz on your pillow before bed. It'll signal calming to your brain and help you have a more complete night's sleep. When I had a little baby, she had really bad colic, and I was reading a little bit about how to create healthy sleep in babies. And I started every night before bed giving her a full body massage with this lavender oil, and she loved it. And she started falling asleep and actually staying asleep. So these little things really do make a difference. All right. Now, we talked about falling in bed. We want to make sure you understand the number one cause of sleeplessness in America is stress and anxiety. So maybe you've done all the things right, you're in bed, the pillows are where they need to be. But if you're stressed or anxious about something, you can be just laying there all turned up. So 3 different suggestions for how to start handling this type of situation. First of all, if you've been lying there and you're super, super stressed and it's been 10 minutes, get out of bed. Don't just stay there. Get out of bed, get up and do some calming ritual. Maybe go have, I like to soak my feet in the tub. That actually for me works really well. Or maybe I just do a round of the house and I tidy up a room or something. Maybe go down to the kitchen and maybe prep something for the next day. So take a break, get out of bed. When you're feeling more calm, you can get back in. The other thing though is just literally guided breathing. So focus on your breath for a few minutes. Try to get the focus back on where you are at this moment. Using mindfulness to reframe thoughts. So when I have a spiraling thought through my head, something that I can do is I like to keep a little journal close to my bed. And if there's something I'm anxious about or worried about, I do what I call a brain dump. And I literally pull out the book and I say, this is something I'm worried about. I don't want to forget it. So I'm going to dump it right here on this paper. I don't need to worry about remembering it because it's right here. I've set it there and my brain can come back to that in the morning. So I like to do those brain dumps with spiraling thoughts. And then, of course, my favorite question to ask when I have a spiraling thought is, what if the opposite is true? If I'm anxious about a performance, something I'm doing, like maybe I won't do well, I'll ask myself the question, hey, what if the opposite is true? What if I'm going to kill it tomorrow? What if it's all going to be amazing? And I focus on those outcomes. And then, of course, meditation. Take 5 to 10 minutes, lie in bed, do a mindful exercise where you focus on each part of the bodies, just anything you can do to get your mind out of that stress and anxiety circle. All right, so we've got you to sleep now. You woke up, you've had a nice rest. Ideally, this is anywhere from 7 to 9 hours of sleep, which sounds like a lot, but I promise you, this is ideal. There are no evolved countries, no first world countries in the world where people are actually getting this on average. We have so many artificial lights and so many stressors, but you'll know that you've gotten enough sleep when you're waking up naturally right before your alarm clock. So for me, this is around 7 hours. Play around with it and see how much your body needs to wake up fully rested right before your alarm. And when you wake up, if you're someone who's hit the snooze button, know that once you hit snooze, it's over. You're not getting extra rest. You're not going to get back into REM cycles. So don't use the snooze button. If you find you're someone who continues to hit the snooze button, just set your alarm at the very last possible minute. But using the snooze will really mess up your morning and you're not going to get any extra benefit from it energetically. Now, this first hour of the morning is your morning hour, and how we wake up and spend this first few minutes, hour of the day really can determine our mood and our energy throughout the rest of the day. And so I personally try to take at least an hour for this morning hour. And the different elements I try to address are the awake phase, calming phases, focusing on a desired outcome, my healthy motion, my self-care, and then I'm ready to meet the world. So what this looks like for me is when I first wake up, I try to get out of bed right away. I walk over to the window and I throw open the blinds and I let the sun hit me. When sun rays hit you, it will very quickly eliminate a lot of these extra sleepiness. Go into the bathroom, I brush my teeth. I like to give myself some affirmations in the mirror every day. If there's something I'm feeling anxious about or something about my body I'm feeling weird about, I'll just literally put my hands on myself, but I give myself some self-love every morning. And then focusing on your desired outcome. What would you like to have happen that day? Maybe take a minute and visualize who are some things on your calendar, but really focus on what you'd like this day to be. This could be a few minutes of journaling as well. It could be you looking at your calendar and saying, these are the things that I've got coming up. Do not turn your phone on yet though. And then do some self-care. For me, this means my meditation happens in this first hour of the morning. I love to just sit calmly, feel my body, greet the day. I sit in the sun in one of my rooms and just let the morning sun filter over me, fill myself with good intention and calmness. And then motion. This is really, really important. If you can, even just 5 to 10 minutes of getting some movement in, again, it'll shake off the sleepiness. It'll get your energy going for the day. And motion has been proven to be as effective as a Prozac, like one Prozac, this 20 minutes of motion. Maybe it's just a quick walk or you're getting up or you're jumping or you do some quick cleaning. But as much as you can, try to get some motion in this hour. And then great, it's time to meet the day. And the cool thing that I've recently learned about though, are now that it's daytime, it's not just you're awake, 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 awake until bedtime again. Throughout the day, there are something, and I might not be pronouncing this correctly, called Ultradian Ultradian cycles. And during the day, your body naturally is going to have these 90-minute cycles of energy and rest. And a lot of us don't notice this. And we have this first initial burst of energy, but then we call it maybe a mid-morning slump. This is normal. It's natural. When that happens, it's not time to run to the kitchen and grab more coffee. It's time to get up from your desk and take a break. Maybe sit on the couch. Maybe go out and do some weeding in the backyard. Maybe go over to the break room and have a conversation with someone. But recognizing that this 20 minutes of rest, if we actually take time to rest, the cycle will continue and your energy will come back. You don't need to over caffeinate or eat through it or push through it. So honor that your body has these 90-minute cycles all throughout the day. And also, if you are in a position to do it, siestas, napping, they are actually very, very healthy to do. There is a healthy way to do it. If you can and you have that luxury, I would encourage you to look for times during the day when you're in these natural lulls in your energy to take that maybe 5 to 20 minute power nap. They're really, really helpful. And there's a reason that a lot of cultures all around the world do it, is because it's just natural with our energy cycles. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're not eating correctly. It's just normal to have these lulls in your day. So respecting these energy cycles throughout the day, as much as you respect your need for sleep at the end of the day, is going to help you maintain and use your energy a lot more efficiently. There's a study a lot of you have probably heard about, the one where it talks about, people needing 10,000 hours of practice to become a master at something. But something more from this study that you guys might not have heard was they did a test. This was in 1993, and they were testing musicians, athletes, chess players, and writers. And they found that the ones who were performing at the top of their categories were doing something very similar. All of them were doing 3 practice sessions in the first part of the day. None of the sessions were going over 90 minutes with rests in between. So they were very cued into this Ultradian cycle that was already happening. And they were using it in these short performance bursts to get their training done. The other thing was they noticed that the people who were doing this were all getting on average 8.5 hours of sleep versus the US average of just 6 hours, about 6 hours and 45 minutes worth of sleep. And so these top performers, athletes, musicians, were all using their ultradian cycles in a really effective way. Plus they were getting a really peak amount of sleep at night. And it made it so that their brains were performing, so that they were performing. They were at the top of their field. So hopefully this has been helpful for you, just to get some different ideas of how you can start maximizing your energy better, start using these natural daytime periods and nighttime periods of energy and rest a little bit better. And based off of this, if you can, go ahead and download the worksheet that I have linked in the comments, and you can start creating your own bedtime patterns. Maybe there's some things in here you can start implementing right away, and then start coming up with some ideas of how to start using natural rest during your daytime lulls and respecting that more. Now that you know about the daytime lulls, respect them. Take that break. Wait for your energy to come back. You're going to be so much more efficient with your work on it. I hope this was helpful. My name is Sarah Starr. I offer private and group coaching. You can get more information at sarahstarcoaching.com. I love helping people create healthy habits, and I hope this is something that's been helpful for you.